Welcome to another episode of the No Ceilings Podcast. I'm Tyler Metcalf, joined as always by the one and only Tyler Rucker. Rucker, got a fun one today. How are we hanging in there?
Fun one. Hang it in there. You know how I'm doing, Metcalf? You know the scene in Zoolander when they're doing the walk-off and Hansel's just really pumped up and he's just like, where am I?
Hot right now.
Yeah, just mainly the where am I, where he doesn't really understand where he is. I'm that way, but not in a good way. So I really needed this podcast today. How are you doing?
Fantastic. What's to complain about? You know, it's
nothing.
Football's
nothing
back.
When I'm on talking basketball with you, there's nothing. Everything's great.
Fantasy football is torturing me. Everyone loves hearing about our fantasy football team, so we're just going to spend an hour on that. I'm excited for this episode. We did these the last couple off seasons. We're doing a redraft 2022. Should be a fun one. I always kind of like doing these in the off season because we're not doing it in the middle of the season and getting overly influenced by a hot month or hot stretch or whatever, or being overreactive. We have, for most of these guys now, 2 full seasons under their belt. And this is kind of the time of their career where we typically say we start forming really solidified opinions on who these guys are, who they're going to be, big whiffs, busts, quote unquote bust. I don't like that term. Misses on our part. This is the kind of time where we're starting to get a real solidified sense of how these guys' careers are going to shape out. Doing it rookie year, I think annoys me personally. Doing it even middle of their second year, I'd love for it to be another year. I like the 3-year rule, but even at 2, a lot of these guys are kind of already showing us how good they're going to be. And this was the first year, no ceiling, so why not?
That's why it felt right. I wanted to do, like we talked about it, and I was like, that's the first year of no ceilings. That's the first year we get to look back at our big boards. Shout out Eric. So hot right now. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I've always been kind of in that mindset, give it 3 years. Something I've been taught a lot from some scouts and execs was like the golden rules: 3 years, wait 3 years, reevaluate, because we always have to remember teams are usually drafting these guys not for what they are right away, for what they think they're going to look like when it's time for their second contract and their third contract, and what type of player are they going to turn into. This was a fun one to look back at my big board, look back at even our big boards. Some of my rankings, I was like, whoa, hey, geez, I got bold there. And some of the other ones, I'm like, gosh, I loved him. Why was I such a coward and didn't have him higher? But it is fun to start to see these guys creating their own identity at the NBA level. Yeah. And I think this is going to be a fun exercise.
All right. Before we dive into it, I'm just going to run through our the no ceilings composite top 30 from that year, just real quick. Bear with me. But I want to do this to show how much things can change from guys being in prospect mode and us, pie in the sky. Oh my God, if everything works out, and how quickly things can change in a very short amount of time. So there'll be plenty of misses in here, plenty of hits too. But starting at 1, we had Chet Holmgren, then Paolo, Jabari Smith, Jaden Ivey, Johnny Davis, Keegan Murray, AJ Griffin, Shaden Sharp, Dyson Daniels, Benedict Mathurin, Jalen Duren, Jeremy Sohan, Malachi Branham, Mark Williams at 14, Jaden Hardy at 15, looking good, Ochai Agbaji at 16, Ousmane Dieng 17, Jalen Williams 18, too low, Tari Eason 19, EJ Liddell 20, Dalen Terry 21, Ty Washington 22, Patrick Baldwin 23, Jake LaRavia 24, Ryan Rollins 25, Bryce McGowan's 26, Kennedy Chandler 27, Gabriel Procida 28, Max Christie 29, and Nikola Jovic at 30. Again, that was composite, so that was 7, 8, 9 different boards, all funneling into one and taking the average rankings of all of those. A lot of misses in there, but just looking back at that time when we first started No Ceilings is a magical time. But what were your kind of impressions of that draft class going into it and then kind of coming out of it at the same time?
It's fun to look back at that class. I've even looked at my personal big board. I feel like me and you were BSing behind the scenes about each of ours. And, everyone's going to hear those and be like, whoa, there's some big names that went. And it's like, if you want to be even more impressed, go look at some of the first big boards of the year. I'm not just saying from us, but like other draft analysts out there. Like, this was a year with a lot of movement.
Yeah.
Johnny Davis and Keegan Murray skyrocketed. A lot of other guys were making some noise. Jaden Hardy, we thought was going to be potentially a top 5 pick in the preseason, goes much later. It was just a really intriguing class that I think a lot of guys, you could argue fit. You could argue it just like, hey, sometimes it just doesn't happen right away. There's also probably a lot of guys that might become second team guys. So, and I think there's guys like, Ousmane Dieng where we're still kind of waiting. We're wait and see mode right now. AJ Griffin's in here. The news today was Shams that was tough. It's like, oh gosh, because I was excited to see him with a new team. I'm hoping everything's going good with him. But like Dyson Daniels, second team, really intrigued to see what he does with Atlanta. I thought he was fantastic in the Olympics, and it's gonna be just a lot of names I'm really excited about. Like Mathurin, I think everyone's forgetting about too. And he had that injury at the end of the year. And I think he's going to be a big piece of that Pacers team. I don't know what about you, Metcalf? How long until we talk about the elephant in the room?
Johnny. Hour and a half.
Can we get the appetizer first? It's tough. It's tough because I also, I don't want to go there too fast.
No, we're still going big picture. We'll hit on some of our big misses at the end, and that could be an entire pod on its own. I thought this class was a really fun one, because for me there were 3 guys at the top who were clearly separated themselves from everyone else, and the guy I had at number 1 start to finish all year and still do, spoiler, was Jet. And he's just one of these guys where it's just so malleable, does so many different things, and still being really, really incredibly high on Paulo, but it's looking like I was still too low at the same time. So I thought this class was a really fun one in terms of kind of that next generation of a lot of the influences of like the superstars from these last couple of years really filtering in and influencing the game of not just a couple guys here and there, but basically the entire draft class, and seeing that kind of positional value, that positional versatility, that offensive skill set, guys having to dribble, pass, and shoot across the board to really make an impact, to get minutes. And historically, those guys have been, the superstars from the class. And this is the kind of time frame, this couple year window of basically everyone has to do that now. And if you're not even in consideration for the first round unless you have some absurd elite skill.
You know what? You can learn, and I think I don't mean to sound like a jerk when I say this, you can learn something from every class you scout. Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer of that. And if you don't learn something, you're probably just trying to ignore that we're not perfect at this. I like a lot of my, my batting average, I feel pretty strong about, but I also think like I'm looking at this class, it taught me a lesson. It taught me to trust my gut. There was guys that I was like, hey, am I too low on? And we always kind of waver, and I try not to go have like public opinion sway, but then that was the first year, no ceilings. We're talking about guys all the time and everyone's liking someone. I'm like, what? I think this is the year that taught me more than ever, like go with your gut. Like if you put in the work, go with your gut, with your rankings. There were some guys that I'm looking right now and I'm like, I didn't want to put him that high. Like, I know I didn't want to. Why didn't? And then there's guys like J-Dub or, I wrote about him. One of my favorite films I've watched scouting. And I remember going into submitting our final big boards. And I was like, I'm going to be such a coward and not just go all in and be like, I love him. Mm-hmm. I'm putting him in my lottery. That would have been too low. You know what I'm just saying? Like, there's guys like that where it's like, if you love them, just go for it. If you're wrong, then you why were you wrong? Figure it out and learn from it. But looking back at this, I had him at 18, which was, you just said, like right around the no ceilings composite.
I had him at 20, and
I was like, I would have had him in the lottery. I loved him. Like,
I overthought it. It
overthought.
was, he's an upperclassman at a mid-major. He's just kind of feasting on these lower level teams. And that was one of the ones, because me and you had talked about him in like November, December, and really liked him. But that was one of the, you talk about kind of public perception and skepticism and groupthink and all that kind of stuff. And I think that was one of those instances where I kind of let it influence me a little too much. And I moved him to the bottom of a tier of guys who I happily would have taken in the late lottery, which again, as we'll get to in a few minutes here, still way too low. Any other big picture things, or should we just rip the Band-Aid off and dive in?
Well, I guess I meant to ask you, is that the biggest takeaway, from this class? If you had to say like something you took away, like, is it just the overthinking, and like the public opinion will sway anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you want to say you don't. Yes, you do. We all look at everyone's big boards. We're looking at rankings and stuff. I think when you get away from that, you start to grow as a scout, because you like, hey, what did I miss? And I think that's valuable. But when no ceilings, we're talking about guys all the time, and that's my first thing. If I don't like a guy, why do you like him? What am I missing? And I think it's just an important part of this whole process. But I also look at like my rankings. I look at our no ceilings rankings. I love them. I think it was spot on. And some guys, everyone doesn't work out. Everyone, just because they went early doesn't mean you're going to automatically be a star. So I think it's just important to always look back and say, hey, it's going to go in a different order. I love this.
Agreed. All right, let's just dive in, but just for the sake of keeping some continuity throughout, let's take our first ad break real quick. Okay, starting with the number one pick. I don't want to do this kind of based on team. I think this
you don't, or do?
No, I don't. So my thought process going into this really had nothing to do with the team that was selecting it, and just more of who I would take with
almost like a ranking. Like it's a big board rank, because if we were going insane mode, I'd want to be like, okay, look, every roster now we have to look at, like, did it make sense of the positional, not need, but you know what I'm saying, with like the roster construction, and a lot of stuff has changed with these teams since then. So I like that better. I like doing hey, this is just a ranking.
Yeah, and at the top of the draft, I don't think fit should ever really come into play. So for me, BPA, best player available. It was then, it is now. Chet Holmgren for me. What do you think?
So this is where we're already going to get weird. I had Chet like you all year at one.
And for me, this is only a two-man conversation.
I'd probably still take Paulo.
Okay.
If I was them. But if we're ignoring that, I had Chet at one all year long. But I still think Paulo there it was the right pick. I think for Orlando, for what they wanted to do and everything. So let me just preface that before we get Magic fans on us, because I do love the Magic. You guys,
and we are making these picks with hindsight.
Yes,
too. We're not rescouting and then drafting just based on that prospect class. We're taking their pro careers so far we're factoring them into the equation.
Yeah, it's just tough, because if you're it's two different types of players right now.
Mm-hmm.
Chet's become the defensive piece that I think is going to unlock another offensive level this year. Paulo looks like a bad man that is just going to keep getting better every year. I think he's been fantastic, and I think Orlando's going to be a very fun team this year. So you know what? It's those two should go the top two picks. I think that's still the right decision. Whatever order you want, fine.
Okay. Well, let me just run through some numbers here. So
I knew you did this. I did.
Unfortunately, only 1 year. We know the injury. But as a rookie, Chet had averaged 16.5 points, 7.9 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 0.6 steals, 2.3 blocks, 53, 37, 79 shooting splits, had the highest blocks per game in the playoffs at 2.5, ranked fifth in the regular season in blocks per game, 94th percentile in block rate per cleaning the glass, 20th in defensive box plus minus, 6th in defensive win shares, 20th in win shares per 48 minutes, and 72nd percentile in effective field goal rate. Now to Paolo, because his career progression already has been insane. On his career, he's played 2 years and he's averaging 21.3 points on 44, 32. Like that to be better. 73 shooting splits, very good. 6.9 rebounds, 4.6 assists, which I think is the assist numbers here are the real kind of number for him. We knew he would score, we knew he would rebound, but there are flashes of the passing at Duke, and it's really carried over. 0.9 steals, 0.6 blocks. The jumps between his rookie year and sophomore year, plus 2.5 points. Rebounds were the same. Assists went up 1.7. Both steals and blocks went up 0.1. Field goal percentage went up 1.8% on 2 extra attempts per game. And the 3-point percentage, still low, but it jumped 4.1% on 0.4 more attempts per game. So the efficiency is improving already. The playmaking, the volume, the usage, all of it's improving. And top 10 in both years in total free throw attempts. He was 10th last year in defensive win shares. Offensive win shares jumped from negative 0.3 as a rookie to 1.3 as a sophomore. Defensive win shares jumped from 2.6 as a rookie to 4 as a sophomore.
Goodness.
Box plus minus jumped from negative 1.5 as a rookie to 1.3 as a sophomore. 96th percentile at his position and assist rate. 11th percentile in effective field goal percentage, but I think that's a little more due to roster construction. So a lot of numbers there. I don't think there's a wrong choice. I would still go Chet, but you can convince me of Paulo, because what he's showing is that he is that offensive hub that everyone hoped and thought he could be coming out of Duke, coming out of high school. And those passing numbers, 96th percentile in assist rate, is insane for his position. And now that they're starting to infuse more shooting around him with guys like, maybe Jett Howard takes that leap, KCP, Tristan Da Silva, whatever other young guys kind of come through the fold, Jalen Suggs keeps shooting it better. As those pieces around him continue to get better, and as the game continues to slow down for him, as his shooting and scoring efficiency continues to rise, I think I just convinced myself that he's probably the number one pick here.
I wouldn't change my top of my big board. I'd have Chet. I'd still take Paulo 1. It's just a better fit. And if you had those two, and everyone would be like, wait, why do you have him at 1? It's like, if you have those two and you're evaluating and they're neck and neck, which towards the end of the cycle, I was buying late Paulo steam of like, this dude's just going to be a beast. There's a potential he's going to be a real monster. And I just, with that roster construction, it made more sense to me. It's to take Paulo. That's why the Jabari thing was like, if you like Jabari, why wouldn't you like Paulo? Like it just made more. And I would still take Paulo 1. Because he's gonna be, if he keeps improving, he's going to be an MVP talk.
He has MVP upside. So when you talk about team fit,
and I'm not saying Chet doesn't.
I kind of disagree. Yes, in terms of what the roster was, but in terms of what they needed, Orlando didn't have a superstar,
and we're not drafting for need.
That home run swing, whereas Chet, I think, has star upside. I think he has all NBA upside. I'm not sure he has MVP upside, but OKC had their MVP in SGA. And I think what Chet does so well is that he fills in every gap needed. Can he be the best player on a team? I'm not totally sure, but could he be the best number 2 on a team? I think so. And on a title contending team, I think so. I think he is the best rim protector I've ever scouted. I love him. But if you're taking the number 1 pick, I think you kind of have to take that swing for that MVP, that top 5 player in the league upside. And I do think while Paulo has some of the scoring inefficiencies and needs to continue to improve as a shooter, the defense is what it is, trending in the right direction, but still needs work. Everything he does on offense makes him an offensive hub at what, 6'10", 240 or whatever he's listed at. So he's a giant, and he gets to the line whenever he wants, and he's creating for everyone else around him. And I think those assist numbers are only going to look better now that they continue to add shooting. So
I agree.
I'm good with Paulo.
No, I agree, because Orlando needed scoring. I think Chet right now, and I love OKC fans, Chet is a superstar in his role.
Orlando needed a cornerstone. They needed a superstar.
Orlando needed we can't score. Can you take the ball and do something? And it's not slander to them. They just needed the guy. Like, here, get us a bucket. Let us post you up in the fourth quarter in a tight game. Go to work. Like, they needed that guy. They needed offensive firepower. They got him. Yeah. And that's why it made sense to take him. And then Chet, is just right now he's a superstar in the role. I think Chet has that upside. It's just they haven't needed him to be the offensive focal point. But I think it's going to keep cooking a little bit. We're going to keep getting a little teaser each year of like, oh, there's more. There's more. Because we've seen Chet when he's the guy. He's a bad dude. But they have a very, very bad dude and another bad dude on their team right now. So he's a fantastic piece alongside those guys.
That's the thing. Because when it comes to offensive creation and scoring and all that kind of stuff, 90% of those responsibilities are going to go to SGA and Jalen Williams when they're on the court. And Chet's going to be an uber efficient play finisher and facilitator and just elevate the game of everyone else around him. Whereas I think Paulo's more of the mold of creating everything for everyone else around him.
For everyone else, yeah.
So, okay.
Oh, man, I'm having a blast. Woo, cook it. Call it fire department. All right.
Okay.
So we're just top 2 picks. Moving on.
Yeah. Paulo, Chet, no change. Wow. And just
let us begin.
Sliver. OKC fans, don't get mad. You got your guy back. So who cares?
Yeah. Should be pumped.
But I mean, think about just hypothetical, alternate universe. Chet goes 1, Paulo in OKC with SGA, and here's an obnoxious take. Does the mid-range get too crowded?
No. they would be a damn bully ball, though. I'll tell you that. That would be we'd be cooking. But I think that's the right picks. I think they landed in the perfect spots, both of them.
Okay. Moving on to pick number 3 in the on draft night, Jabari Smith Jr. From Auburn went to the Houston Rockets. Who are you thinking?
I think Chet's teammate is in the discussion right now.
I think this is a one-man conversation for me, and it's Jalen Williams.
I'm not taking him over 1 and 2, but my goodness, doing this and looking back, we joked before. No, he's not. And we joked before that I was going through and I was like, okay, yeah, I'd probably take him up there. And all of a sudden I got down to J-Dub and I was like, oh, he's going way earlier. I think he's just a bad man that is going to keep getting better and being more versatile on both sides of the ball and just be a damn problem. So I think it's easy. I think he'd be 3, and I'm sprinting to the podium right now if I'm getting him at 3.
Agreed.
Okay.
All right. I have a bunch of numbers here. So
I love when you
bear with me.
I love it when you roughhouse.
Okay. So this year, Jalen Williams' true shooting percentage jumped from 60.1 as a rookie to 62.1 as a sophomore. Assist rate jumped from 15.4 to 21.3. That's insane. Turnover dropped from 12.3 to 10.1. Win shares jumped from 5.6 to 7.3. BPM went from 0.3 to 2.3. This last year ranked in the 91st percentile in assist rate at his position, 85th percentile in points per shot attempt, 90th percentile in usage, 84th percentile in effective field goal rate, 74th percentile in both block and steal rates. And all of that happened with his usage jumping from 18.4 as a rookie to 23.7 as a sophomore. So for others, didn't turn the ball over, but he did all of it on significantly more volume.
He's just probably one of the most enjoyable players I've watched right now that just continues to unlock another level of his game every year. I think he's going to be in the guy in the playoffs where SGA is going to have a game, and then all of a sudden it's going to be like, oh, J-Dub, feed him. They just have monsters. So, like, yes, we talked about this earlier. We're not talking about roster construction. You could have been like, Houston had this and this. But just take the damn dude. You'd be pumped right now if you're Rockets fans. You added Jalen Williams to your team. So he just going to be a really bad dude on the court for years to come. Like, I think he's one of those guys every single time I watch the Thunder. I'm like, yeah, I'm excited to watch SGA. I'm excited to watch Chet. And every time I watch a Thunder game, I walk away and I'm like, Jalen Williams is a stud. He's just so good. And those numbers back it up. So easy one.
Okay. Fantastic. What do you think his ceiling is? Do you think he has all NBA, all-star?
Yes.
MVP?
Yes, all NBA. Yes, all-star. MVP just gets tough because of the team. But yeah, if he ever got out of OKC, which I don't think he ever will, because Sam Presti will probably just give him blank checks. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. I think he's got that upside. Do you think he get all defensive upside? Because he does so much offensively too, but there's just games you watch him and I'm like, man, he really can ruin people's lives defensively at times.
The perimeter defense on that team next year with SGA, Lou Dort, Caruso, J-Dub, and then being backlined by Chet and Hartenstein, they're probably gonna be the 1 seed again.
They should.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be an all NBA guy that
agreed
keeps making it on all NBA teams. I don't know if it's going to be this year. I'm just saying eventually I think he's going to be J-Dub's probably good for one of those teams. Like he's got that potential.
Agreed. Okay. Moving on to the 4th pick. On draft night, the Sacramento Kings took Keegan Murray. You thinking same name, someone different? Where are you leaning?
Probably leaning same name.
Wow. Okay.
I was actually more just saying it that way to see where you're at. I 100% would take Keegan.
I would go Jabari here because.
Wow, interesting.
Just are you out on Jabari now?
No, I'm not. I just more in on Keegan. I think Keegan would be even more impressive, potentially with, it's always interesting to me how Keegan came in and Sacramento just was like, okay, perimeter shooter. And like college, if you will watch Keegan in Iowa, he was doing some disgusting stuff on the block and the post and stuff. So I always thought there was like a little bit more like, hey, there's another door you can open here that might unlock another level of awesomeness. But I still just love Keegan. I had him 5 on my board. Someone told me once I was insane for projecting him to go in the top 5, and never forget that guy fuels me every day. So I appreciate it. Shout out to that guy. Jabari still.
So okay. Are you concerned about Keegan's potential shooting regression from year 1 to 2?
No. Don't throw me numbers. I don't want to hear it. I love Keegan.
42% to 36% is a pretty substantial drop off.
I understand, but I think they're feeding it more to get more out of it. They're trying to unlock a little bit. They were trying to get some on-ball stuff going. He had that like really bad slump, I feel like, to start the year, maybe.
Yeah. Well, so the reason I wouldn't be too concerned about it is because the biggest discrepancy is in the corner 3-point percentage, where as a rookie he was at 44%, and this last year dropped to 32%, which is bad, but it's rare that we see guys not get better as corner 3-point shooters. And I think a lot of that is scouting report changing on a guy, whereas teams were like, all right, just let the rookie spot up, who cares? And then it quickly became, oh, we have to run him off the line. And as a rookie, not super comfortable with that. But this last year, at rim field goal percentage jumped from 63 to 71%, which is fantastic. And mid range jumped from 37% to 46%, which is fantastic. So I think we started seeing a little more of that scoring versatility from him. I'm just not sure how much more there is left there, but as in terms of an off-ball scorer, playing off of DeRozan and Fox and Sabonis this year, I would expect a lot of those numbers to probably return a little more towards what we saw from his rookie year.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's talk about Jabari.
Okay. So
I'm not out on Jabari. I'm not out.
You hate Jabari. It's
no,
okay.
No, I'm not out Jabari. Jabari is gosh, this is gonna be tough. If Jabari's with, like, Houston has done a very good job of building that roster up quick. Do we think Jabari with a different team would have had more of a, like, hey, progression opportunity? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'm not saying I'm out on Jabari. I feel like they just got a lot of guys in a hurry, which is shout out Rafael Stone and the Rockets organization. Like, they added talent in a hurry and kind of made his role specific, which is fine. Because I think when he was drafted, we were like, this might take a while to unlock everything, but we're hoping there's defensive potential immediately, the 3-point shooting. He had that summer league at his second year where we were like, oh gosh, here it comes. Here's the Jabari breakout we're looking for. And I feel like it was still okay a little bit.
Yeah, just quick shout out to Jack M with the super chat, saying after this season, Shaden would go top 3 in this exercise. Dude is freaking special. Thanks for the great content, guys. Jack, you're the best. Love you. I think Shaden's gonna have a big year. I think we're very excited about Shaden.
I was bringing him up.
He's not far down my list, and is in conversation for the next year, probably.
Yes.
But circling back to Jabari real quick. I think it's really important to remember. I think this last year was the first time he had a kind of competent coach, and I know that sounds harsh.
That is true,
but he finally started to settle in with Ime. I think Ime is going to be an awesome coach for him, and sometimes these things just take a little bit of time, and we saw that with his shooting, where his rookie season, he really struggled from outside, shooting just 30.7%. Last year, that jumped to 36.3 on the exact same volume. 89th percentile as a corner 3-point shooter, shooting 45%. And the defensive win shares jumped from 1.4 as a rookie to 3.2. Defensive box plus minus went from negative 1.3 to 0.1. Rebounding was really good. I think the inclusion of having more kind of on-ball creators with Van Vliet and Amen Thompson and Jalen Green kind of taking a jump and Şengün getting more responsibilities. I think all of that took a lot off his shoulders and allowed him to play a more efficient and preferred role. So I still think Jabari has a ton of upside, and especially if we're talking about like a role player who can defend, knock down shots, rebound. I think long term, I still lean him. I think he has way more room to grow and isn't all that totally off from what Keegan's done.
It sounds like you're just a Keegan hater. So
no, I've on my best available. I have Jabari 1, Keegan 2.
Okay, well, all right. We'll go Jabari to the Kings. That's fine.
No. Stand up business, but say it with your chest. If you believe,
I would take Keegan. I think he's been better. I think he still has a lot to go with this game. Do I still like Jabari? Absolutely. I would go Keegan Jabari.
Should we just do that then?
Yeah, why not?
To the Pistons.
Well, they need shooting. I know we're not drafting with shooting. I would have loved them with Detroit. It probably would have made a lot of sense.
Jabari there actually would have been a lot of fun.
To Detroit?
Okay. Yeah. I'm
fine. With that. And then we're going to get really interesting.
Whatever. Okay. So top 5. Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Keegan Murray, Jabari Smith. Not a whole lot of shakeup or surprises, I don't think so far. But after this,
It's going to happen.
it could get weird. But before we jump into it, we're just going to run through 6 through 30 throughout the rest of this episode after our last break. Okay, Rucker, at number 6 on draft night, it was Benedict Mathurin to the Indiana Pacers. What are you thinking?
I still love him there, but Shaden's very much like we could have had an argument at Shaden at 5. Probably. Yes. So what are you leaning? I'd probably lean Shaden.
Ooh, okay. Why?
It's all okay. Don't call anybody out here. It's always tough with a team that has benefits of losing, in which some guys get hurt towards the end of the year. And I want to say, are you actually hurt? And I'm not calling that out, but I think if a full season of Shaden happened, we'd all be probably saying, oh my gosh, he's much higher in this redraft. I think this is a year where Shaden will be very much like, oh, Shaden Sharp's going to be one of the best players from this class. So I like the potential a lot, but I also have been very impressed with Mathurin with Pacers. So talk to me. Okay. That'd be a fun one to be in the war room, because I'd be like, I really am excited about just either one for different reasons. But I think Shaden's upside, maybe.
I think Shaden still has way more upside, especially as kind of that uber athletic wing creator. I like Mathurin a lot. I think he's been really good. The injury last year sucked. And it's tough because a lot of the sample size from Shaden Sharp so far has been in a situation where it's like, shrug, go figure it out. Because, they're not really trying to win. They've been a mess of a team these last couple of years, and kind of have a backlog of on-ball creators. So the efficiency stuff from him hasn't really been there, which is concerning, especially since a lot of it kind of took a dip this last year. And his effective field goal percentage dropped to 48%, only played 32 games. It's tough. But I remember when we were at Summer League, and in the limited time that we saw him, it was very clear that he was working on his passing and some of his drive and kick stuff, where it's like, oh, you're seeing the floor differently than you were last year or in high school, where everything was predetermined, where you were attacking closeouts and you had the exact same move, you went the same direction, you had the same counter every single time. And we started to see all of that grow. And it showed up in the numbers too, where his assist rate jumped from 7.5 to 14, which is the 21st percentile at his position to the 71st percentile. And the turnover rate only jumped from 11.9 to 13.2. So not that big of a difference in terms, after seeing a significant jump in overall playmaking responsibilities and volume. Again, only 32 games, which sucks. And I, if I'm going to cherry pick here, a lot of the inefficiency issues or questions I'm going to throw on the injury. But similar to Mathurin, I don't think we've seen anything resembling any sort of competency on the defensive end either.
Yeah, that's a good point. There was times last year where I was like, oh man, it's really coming together for Shaden. This is going to be really fun. And it's also one of those, like, you're watching and you're like, you can see the progression with a young player, and you can see there's still a lot of stuff left to unlock. I think this year we're going to see another step. I think Portland's going to be fun to watch this year. But I agree. Like, I love Mathurin. I love him as a prospect. I still love what I've seen from him at Indiana. I think he's perfect for that team when he's healthy and he's cooking. He's a guy you want out there. He's a guy that teams will try to go get in free agency if he ever leaves them, because you just want that volume scorer that can be tough and get you a bucket. And I think Mathurin's going to have a great year for the Pacers. So I probably would lean upside right now in a redraft. So I would probably go shade in there.
I'm thinking the same thing because
Okay.
I like Matherin. I think he's going to be a really good pro for a really long time. But I think it's looking more and more like he's going to be just kind of that off-ball scorer. And if he is, then I think we need to see a lot more defensive growth from him as well. So again, obviously he had the injury last year too. So how much did that impact things? But in terms of just pure upside, I think in terms of current contributions, I don't think they're going to be all that far off this year. Matherin obviously on the better team, but this is going to be a really, really big year for Sharp, and he has to take a leap. First, he has to stay healthy, but we got to see a big leap from him. Okay,
I agree.
Sharp 6, Matherin 7. Moving on to number 8, where on draft night is Dyson Daniels to the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm going to throw out Walker Kessler.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Oh, wow. Can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Quick question. Okay. Have you sold Jaden Ivey stock?
Like completely divested and liquidated everything? No. Sold, yes.
Comfort level. Panic meter. Oh man, off-season panic meter. We haven't talked this on panic
we haven't
meter.
Done a pro.
No, pro panic meter would be good. Light bulb. See, this is what the off-season's for. I haven't given up. After this year, ask me again. But last year seemed like the biggest what the hell is going on. So I'd probably have him in the conversation right now.
It's tough having a coach who doesn't want to play you.
Who wanted to play a guy that's not on the who got cut?
Yeah. Again, not great. Not what you want. Not super ideal for, your second year number 5 overall pick to be treated. But it's not like Ivy was showing out. And I think with this team, it's really, really tricky. I think the Pistons are going to be an absolute mess this year. They're going to be tough to watch. Their transition offense should be fun. Oh God, yeah. It's going to be like, yeah.
I think there's a chance they might play but they might look much better because they're at least going to have some consistency. They should be playing hard. They should,
And their transition offense. Their transition offense should be incredible. Especially with that second unit with Asar and Ivy. Just push the pace, use your athleticism, use your youth, create chaos. But
I'm just trying to process.
I still think Walker Kessler's been better.
Oh my gosh.
How has he not been a better player?
I like Duren more.
See, I like centers who play
Why does everyone not like Duren? Like what did Jalen Duren come out and talk bad about Minnesota basketball? Like, is that why you don't like him?
No. I like Jalen.
Kessler was getting put on a platter at Summer League for someone to trade for him.
The guy's been in the 99th percentile in rim protection.
And
it's kind of important.
Well, then why are we talking about Mark Williams?
Well, that's what I was about to get to.
Okay. I would be going Mark and Jalen over, but I was also.
So I would go Mark over Duren easily.
Okay.
But injuries. He hasn't been able to stay healthy.
I'd go Mark. If you're going big hunting, I'm going Mark.
So is it just
or Johnny Davis?
Before I said anything, was it too soon? Before I said anything, was Ivy the only name on your board?
No, I have 2 names that I have on my spicy list, but I don't know if I should bring them up yet.
Well, Sam.
I think Andrew Nembhard needs to start being in the conversation, and I also think Peyton Watson needs to start coming in the conversation.
Little early for me.
Little early for both, but they need to start being like, hey, they're on the list. They're at the bottom in small print, but they're on the list.
Nemhard's number 2 on my best available.
Thank you. Walker's there. I just don't.
Okay, so do we want to look at this as in turn to make this a little easier? Do what we said we weren't going to do at the very start, which is look at the the team context to see if that helps at all.
Probably, right?
So it is the Pelicans,
which they both need. They need a big. Like, who would be better with the team right now? Fine. We'll cheat. We'll say right now. Well, Walker would probably be better.
Yeah.
Fine, I'll do it.
Well,
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
No, because I like that you brought up Mark, because I had Mark higher, obviously, at the time. I was super high on him. I think he's been really good in Charlotte, but it's when he's played, which unfortunately hasn't been a whole lot, where he's been hurt a lot. So how much are we factoring that in at this point, or is it too early in these guys' career to like actually be worried about that kind of stuff?
I think it's too early.
Okay.
I'm going Mark.
Okay. So some numbers for Mark Williams. The Hornets' net rating differential when he was on the court compared to off was 10.1 points better when he was on the court than when he was off, 92nd percentile. He's been last year 86th percentile in points per shot attempt. Last 2 years, block rates of 2.7 and 1.9, steal rate of 1.5 and 1.3, but all of those rank in the minimum of the 64th percentile. 96th percentile offensive rebounder, 76th percentile defensive rebounder.
Look, I was lower on Walker as a prospect. I had Mark at 13.
I was too low. You were?
I had Mark at 13. I had Walker at 40. It's a miss. It's a miss for me. But I also just
I had Mark at 13 and 36, I think. And then Walker at 36.
Like, should I have Walker higher? I would have had Mark and Duren still above. I still like what I'm seeing from Jalen Duren. Walker, I was much lower on. He's so special defensively. What else am I getting?
Who?
And I still
Mark
with Walker.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what else am I getting? And with Mark, I loved him as a prospect. He had pillows for hands. He's a lob threat. He's got fantastic length, and he can play defense. I just feel like there's a little bit more upside with Mark, and I just like his game a little bit better because I think there's more upside on both sides of the ball than what I'm getting from Walker.
Okay. I love it. Mark Williams. Yeah, if he has a big year, this will be just recirculate this. I think he's going to be really good.
I do too.
Really like him. Okay. Moving on to number 9, casual 48 minutes in, and we're at the 9th pick. Fantastic stuff. On draft night, it was Jeremy Sohan who went to the San Antonio Spurs.
Walker? I mean, we could go a lot of ways right now.
We could.
So
are we going to view this? No, we're not doing that. Ignore.
It's the first time we've done a redraft. We can change our mind in the middle and say, you know what, we like doing this way better.
So I think
we care too much about the fit. Like, that's our problem right now. We care too much, and it's a good problem to have. You're going to say Nembhard.
I think Nembhard should be in the conversation. I think Tari Eason could be in the conversation.
Tari probably deserves a little bit more love than we're...
Again, injury issues, consistent opportunity. He'll go soonish, but this is still too early.
Question. If they don't make Sohan try to play point guard, is he higher on your board?
So yeah, that's because that what 3-4 month stretch totally derailed just his public perception, because it's not like he's a bad player. He was just being used out of position.
You could talk to me about Nemhart. You could talk to me about Walker Kessler. You could talk to me about Duran. I'm buying Jaden Ivey stock. I'll call me if you want to sell it. I'll take it. I still am believing.
Okay, so what have you seen from him that?
I just think last year was one of those years that it's just like what the heck was going on? And now you're going to get a guy that's just going to be like that was very frustrating. Now I get new coach, where sometimes a new coach, a new system, a new, fit, if you want to put it that way, might just be what you need. And I'm not giving up on Jaden Ivey's upside just because of a weird year with rotations and a coach's preference. And hey, maybe there's something going on behind. I don't know, but I'm not. I still think Ivey's a heck of a talent that when they drafted him, we were like, this could be an ugly fit in Detroit. So if I'm somehow putting him on a different team, I might love the fit.
Okay. I don't disagree with any of that. And I'm not completely out on Ivy long-term either. But that also completely ignores the 2 years of NBA production that we've seen from him. And if we're factoring that in, then I think guys like Andrew Nembhard, Sohan, even like Dyson Daniels should be ahead of him.
I agree. I'm just saying I'm not. The problem with Ivy is it's been such a small sample size of like, whoa, he's playing really good. And then you're like, well, where's the rest? Like, well, why can't we get more of that? And other guys have had a better showing, like Nembhard. I think they've also created the most of like an ideal fit. Like Nembhard had a great spot early on in the rotation that he's built now to be like, oh, he's one of the guys that you need at the end of a game. Jaden hasn't figured that out yet. And is it playing alongside Cade? I don't know, but I just think the potential would still have me picking him pretty early. I'm not like dropping him all the way down just because of a couple bad years. Like I would still want, but I do think like Dyson Daniels is, you just brought him up. I think after this year, we might be having a very different conversation about Dyson Daniels with the new team because it's a better fit. So we're rambling. You got to talk to me about like who are you leaning?
I'm leaning Nembhard.
I like it. It's bold. It's aggressive.
Is it though? Because you just mentioned like he's playing important minutes on a winning team.
I would do a backflip if I was getting Nembhard. Like he's everything that you'd want. If you're watching Andrew Nembhard right now and you watched his last season, teams are like, man, how do we let that guy slip? Like he looks like an absolute stud. That's going to be good for a very, very long time. So yeah, I think that's a great pick.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Number 10 on draft night, it was John Davis to the Washington Wizards. I have a feeling we have a different name going right now. So top 5-ish for me right now would be Walker Kessler, Ivy, Sohan, Daniels, Duran.
Man, Johnny, I'm gonna find out the truth one day. Well,
we know part of it.
Yeah, we know part of it.
Injuries suck.
Yes.
I think some other. I'll kind of keep going down. Torrey Eason, Christian Brown, Keon Ellis, Peyton Watson, Jaden Hardy, Vince Williams, Ousmane Dieng.
Who's your top 3? I would say Duran's still up there for me. Walker Kessler, fine. Torrey's probably a good mention.
My top 3 right now are Walker Kessler, Jaden Ivey, and Jeremy Sohan.
I'll go Walker Kessler.
Wow, ecstatically. I love the enthusiasm.
I mean, hey, I get it up there. That's fine. That's good.
Okay, so why do you hate Walker Kessler?
I don't hate him. I just think it would be a very fit dependent pick because the offensive tools have not been consistently unlocked. I think he's an unbelievably special shot blocker and defender. And if you need Like he's going to probably play a long time in the NBA because people are going to keep trying to be like, hey, Walker Kessler really can help us out in the paint. So, yeah, I'm good with that. I just couldn't take him in front of my boy Mark.
Fair. And we didn't. So
there you
stop
go.
crying about it.
No, I'm good.
So
Next.
no, I agree with some of the offensive concerns, but he's purely like a lob threat, an offensive rebounder. The offensive rebounding numbers have been great. The short kind of mid-range stuff took a huge drop off where in that Clayton the Glass has it in like that 4 feet to like the free throw line. As a rookie, that was at 48%, which is huge. That's all those kind of push shot floater stuff out of the short roll. Last year, it dropped to 33%. That's brutal. At his at rim percentage, above 73% both years, really good. 3-point shot just isn't a thing. Doesn't look like. How much of that kind of drop off do you think is the just difference in going from playing with Mike Conley for basically your entire rookie year to Keontae George, who isn't historically a point guard? That's not a dig at Keontae, just it is what it is.
Yeah, and they got a little bit more depth in the front court. So I think it's a little bit of a mix of everything. Like you just lost some minutes, you lost some consistency, you lost a veteran piece where you're all of a sudden now playing with a rookie. And, you know, I kind of agree with you. It's not a slander at Keontae. It's just new system, new type of player you're playing with. I think it's a little bit of that. I'm excited to see what they do with him this year. I don't know if he's going to get consistent minutes or they might look to kind of move him. You know, I don't know, but I like the idea of him going to the Wizards. That'd be a very fun fit.
Okay.
I know we're not doing fit, but I can't stop trying to do fit. It's just hilarious. So Knicks 11.
Wrong. OKC.
11. OKC 11.
It was Ousmane Dieng on draft night. My top 3 currently is Ivy, Sohan, Daniels. But I'm not married to any of those.
I would go. And I can't. I'm very pumped about the Dyson Daniels year. I'm very pumped about it.
He was incredible for Australia during the Olympics.
If he doesn't have like a great year, I'm going to be like, what the heck is the deal with? And I'm also a humongous believer of the Olympic confidence builder into the NBA season. So like I'll watch Dyson Daniels. I was like, this is a different player. Like this is fantastic.
Yeah.
So I'm in.
You want to go Daniels?
Yeah, let's do it.
Love that. Look at that efficiency.
So OKC left with Chet and Dyson Daniels.
Yeah, not terrible.
But you're losing Jalen Williams, so yeah, that one hurts.
What do you think Dyson's steal rate was last year?
I don't know, Metcalf. Come on.
2.6. It ranked in the 92nd.
I was going to say 2. And oh my gosh. I was actually going to say a 2. And then I was going to be like, I'm going to be really low off it.
He also ranked in the 93rd percentile in offensive rebounding and 85th percentile in defensive rebounding and the 74th percentile in block rate. He's going to fit next to Trae Young really well, especially if that spot up jumper looks anything like it did in the Olympics, where it's just okay. Like, it's just like,
they should play him and Ricochet with Trae and just like, Trae, we're going to help you out. I know Ricochet is going to have some growing pains, but the defense should be solid.
Very excited.
Very excited.
Okay, moving on to pick number 12 on draft night. It was J-Dub to the Thunder. Obviously, J-Dub went 3rd overall in our redraft. Where are you leaning?
Probably Duren.
Okay.
Why do you not like Duren? Can you talk to me about now? Okay.
I do. He's just he's still incredibly raw. I was hoping for more of a leap than what we've gotten. And I think
is it because they just don't have a lot of guys that can get away from, I think he's a beast down there sometimes.
Maybe. And again, how much of it is the coaching thing where they had a coach that didn't want to be there last year. So how aggressively does that filter down to everyone else? Where he's just looked kind of like indifferent on defense a lot of the time. It hasn't. I still think there's a ton of upside. He's still super raw. I'm fine taking him here. I think this is a good range.
Duren. You know he's 20 still?
Yeah, which is like I'm not out on him. It's just I need that leap to come, and the sooner the better,
Yeah.
hopefully. But I like when I was covering the Timberwolves Pistons game in Minneapolis, the pick and roll game between him and Cade was fantastic. So if that can take another leap, and he can continue to show off a little more of that short roll playmaking, be a little more aggressive and consistent finishing around the rim, have that defense take another leap. Ton of upside with him still. So okay, cool. I'm good with Duran there. At 13 on draft night, it was Jalen Duran to the Detroit Pistons, who traded up for him. Who do you want to go with?
Ivy. I don't know. I'm just a little all over the place because I still am very much a believer of Jalen.
So my top 7 right now, which is kind of any of these guys, I think make a lot of sense at this spot. In no order: Jaden Hardy, Peyton Watson, Keon Ellis, Christian Brown, Tari Eason, Jeremy Sohan, and Jaden Ivey.
Who was first? Sorry,
Jaden Hardy.
I loved Hardy. I don't know if I've seen enough to have him going.
That's fair.
I'm probably tiptoeing with Tari right now.
I like.
You know what I mean? Like,
I need him to be healthy.
Yeah, if he's healthy, I would probably like talking about him earlier.
Man, 22 games last year. That is
wow.
That sucks. And the year as a rookie, he played all 82.
That's
only started 5, but
did he have the early season injury? Sorry, Rockets.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Like, did he try to come back, or did he miss a bunch of time then try to come back, or did he play?
I think it was
whatever,
or something kind of nagging early on.
Hey, he didn't play much.
They shut him down. Exactly. He played 22 games worth.
Yeah.
So Tari was one of those guys in college where I really struggled with him as a prospect because the defensive playmaking numbers were ludicrous, and that LSU team was such feast or famine where they were gambling on everything and being super aggressive. I'm like, this isn't going to translate at least to this level. I mean, these levels are unsustainable. They did. And then some. So as a rookie, block rate of 1.4, 93rd percentile, steal rate of 2.2, 98th percentile in just his 22 games last year. Block rate of 2, 94th percentile, steal rate of 2.8, 99th percentile. Offensive rebounding, 100th and 99th percentile both years. Defensive rebounding, 90th and 96th percentile both years. The dude just makes plays on that end of the floor. It is insane how consistently he does it. But the big question is, what's the shot going to look like? And so far, it's just kind of been average. But if you're defending like that, if you're creating that much havoc, if you're that impactful on the defensive end, 37% from 3 is just fine for me.
Gave me nightmares evaluating. I had him at 20.
Where did I? 22.
And
it's too low.
It was too low.
Especially if he's healthy.
Yeah. If he's healthy, absolutely. I like the pick here.
Okay.
I like Tari here.
Let's do it. Tari Eason, 13. All right.
Those guys also, hold on, one thing. Those guys also figure a way to play for so long.
Yeah.
If they're healthy. They just have, like, you could be like, if the shot comes around. There's always guys in a playoff series that are like, man, this dude is so important for the series because of how much he can just wreck a game.
Yeah.
In a positive way. I think that's what Tari's going to end up being. It's just this, like, it's a utility weapon. Like, PJ Tucker figured out a way to be a very impactful player without scoring a ton. And obviously he figured out a 3-point shot, but I think when you can do a lot of stuff at a high level, especially defensively, you're going to find a way to find a home and get on the court. So there you go. Go ahead. Okay.
At 14 on draft night, it was Ochai Agbaji to the Cavaliers. Who are you thinking?
Jaden Ivey's going to be the first name on my on my list every time. So if you don't want to go down that route, we can just but like every time you ask me, it's gonna be like Ivy's gonna be up there. So
Okay, so he's number one for me. We've talked about him a bunch.
okay, it's easy.
I'm good going with him here, but I think this is still 98% upside.
Yes.
He's been a bad player so far, but there's still
He
so
hasn't
much
been
there.
what we thought. Yes, there's
I also think he's been woefully misused.
That's where I'm at.
I think his confidence has been
yes
tarnished.
It is driving a Ferrari in a school zone, like with 25 miles an hour. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're taking it out purposefully to go drive slow. It's like, you got the car for a reason. Drive it. Let it run wild. And I just feel like they're adding an anchor to him. And I just like, use him to his strengths. Don't try to make him what he's not. Try to unleash him. Let him have some fun in the open floor. So I just think I'm still so high on him because I don't believe he's been used the way he needs to be playing. Like, I think he just needs a year of confidence of just be like, just let him play. Like, don't try to make him robotic.
And after this season, if we redid this next summer, it wouldn't shock me if we had him 10 spots lower or 5 spots higher.
Agree.
Okay.
Big year.
Moving on to 15. On draft night, it was Mark Williams to the Charlotte Hornets. We had Mark going 8. Who are you thinking at 15?
It's tough because I'm looking at names and I'm like, are we getting to that conversation of we don't know yet and your upside's still intriguing, but I'm not very confident. Like Usman, Jeremy, and then I'm like, well, Christian Brown sounds great. Peyton Watson sounds very, very fun. I probably love Peyton Watson soon. Very excited for this
4
year.
For me right now.
4. Goodness. 4. Okay. Oh, you're gonna have Hardy.
No, I have Hardy at 5. I have Keon Ellis ahead of him. I have Jeremy Sohan ahead of him. I have Christian Brown ahead of him.
Son of a gun. Keon's such a good wild card right there.
He was insanely good for the Kings last year, and the summer league stuff was a little inconsistent until they kind of finally put him back in that off-ball role, and he just dropped like 20 plus in the blink of an eye. So I was like, okay, yep.
I mean, if I'm getting postseason Keon, we probably are having a conversation about him earlier. Who else did you say?
It was most of the season. I mean, he had a effective field goal rate of 59.8, 40% from 3, 44% from 3, above the break, which was 96th percentile. Block rate of 1.5, 98th percentile, steal rate of 2.2, 85th percentile. He's just a prototypical 3-and-D guy. Man, he was fun at Alabama too.
Yannick Sosa?
Too soon.
I'll probably Keon's up there for sure. I like a lot of these guys right now. I'm just trying to figure out who is to. I'll go Keon, or who did you have at 1?
My top 6 right now is Sohan, Christian Brown, Keon Ellis, Peyton Watson, Jaden Hardy, Vince Williams.
I can't give up on Sohan, so I would be in.
He's
I
good.
think the Spurs. We're gonna have an investigation.
He can't shoot, but he's good. He's incredibly smart. He's basically Kyle Anderson out there.
I think they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
I think they said we're going to play a point on purpose.
Yeah, and if
we
it
know
hits,
it's
awesome.
If it hits, it's great. But if it doesn't, you at least get better as a playmaker in theory, and we get a better draft pick.
I really hope that didn't do like long-term damage to his psyche.
No, I don't think so.
Those first 3 months, no one was getting shit on more in the league than him.
I think they knew what they were doing. They're like, hey, this is going to be brutal, but we're
everyone's favorite stat was the net rating difference when we're using the exact same lineup, but with switching out Sohan for Trey Jones, and it being
What
like a 20-point differential.
what if they play him back at the position that they should have, and it's just the greatest troll job ever, and then Stephon Castle rocks, and they're just dynamic defensive playmaking guys that
I hope
struggle
so.
shooting?
I hope so.
It would be awesome. I would still take Jeremy.
Okay.
I still buy that upside for sure.
Okay, I'm good with Jeremy here. He's still such a good passer as a third, fourth option, not a fucking point guard. Can't
You know
shoot
what
at
he
all,
is?
but
You know
awesome
what he is,
defender.
Metcalf? They're gonna get in the playoffs, and he's gonna have a playoff series, and we're all gonna be like, "Oh, this is why we
He's Kyle
loved him as a
Anderson.
playoff." Like he's a stud. I still like him a lot. I
fine.
just think everyone had a bad taste, and they're like, "What are the Spurs doing?" I'm like, I think the Spurs are rewriting how to tank.
They're tanking. Okay, let's move on to 16. On draft night is AJ Griffin to the Atlanta Hawks. News broke today that he is considering stepping away from basketball. That's a bummer. Hope he figures everything out.
Yeah.
But at 16, where are you leaning?
I'm probably Hardy, Christian Brown.
How concerned are we about Christian Brown not being able to apparently shoot at all?
It was a very strange year. I was like,
And
when is that leap happening? Like, I thought this was just going to be oh my gosh, Bruce Brown's gone. It is time for you to take that leap, and kind of a weird year.
Very, very weird year.
Christian Brown. You know what it is? It's the scary, you had playoff success, or people had a whole offseason of talking you up. And I always get scared for those guys when they're young of like, don't drink the Kool-Aid too much. Like, don't, just keep grinding. Everyone's telling you how great you are. And I'm not saying he did it. I'm just saying it's always like you come in now with, I got some pressure if I don't deliver right away.
Yeah.
I was going to do so good. Go ahead.
Just before people freak out about him shooting 38%. Yes, I know that's a fine number on its own. He's also on 2 attempts, and teams would regularly just sag off him and dare him to shoot because teams treated it as if he was shooting, it's a win.
Which is shocking for him.
He became that guy in the lineup. A very similar thing that kind of happened to Isaac Okoro, where the percentage on its own is fine, but teams don't view him as a shooter. So hopefully he takes that leap this year. I love basically everything else about his game. The defense has been extraordinary. I think him, Keon, Peyton Watson makes sense here. But if we're going based off of the last 2 years of actual production, I think it's Christian or Keon.
I've made a lot of final calls. I like Christian or Keon, so you get to be the one here.
Let's just go back to back.
Okay.
You good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, we'll go Christian.
Try to share the wealth.
We'll go Christian, then Keon. Keon's going to be good for that Kings team this year, man.
Are we at 20 yet?
We're
an hour and 15 minutes. Okay, good.
Which was Dalen Terry to the Chicago Bulls. I like Peyton Watson here.
I did too. Brian K, shout out Brian in the chat. He said Vince Williams is going to be good. I said, yeah, he's been on my list. I'm watching. Peyton. If we're talking upside, I would have. Peyton's still one of those names I probably would have taken earlier. I think this is a big Peyton Watson year. Very big Peyton Watson year.
Yes.
I think the confidence started cooking in the kitchen last year. Now all of a sudden it's like, okay, take it out of the oven. Let's have the main concourse, see what's going on. He just did some stuff during games where I was like, oh my goodness, this man is going to be so much fun when it keeps it's that slow development where you're just like, they're doing it the right way. Keep adding a little bit to the game. And I love it. So
at the start of the show, we talked about going with your gut, not being overly influenced by, and this is one where I kind of kick myself of bumping him. I still had him at 31, but it's like, I wanted him higher because going back to the high school stuff, he was an awesome passer. The defense was always just insane. He just needed to fill out. and the defense is always going to be good. Can you do anything on offense? That question's still up in the air, but I think the defense is that impactful. And the passing, the connective passing as that, facilitator between from one side to the other is still there, where I think it wouldn't totally shock me if he continues to emerge more into that Aaron Gordon type of role.
I had him at 31 too. And that was my biggest lesson from that year was Peyton Watson, because I saw him in person and everything that I saw, I loved. And in my heart, it was like the first time I watched a guy that just didn't have any stats. It was just a roll. Like I wrote an article about him at No Ceilings called Roll of the Dice, like with Peyton Watson. And everything I watched in person, I was like, I absolutely love everything. Yes, I understood the weaknesses. I understood the concerns, and I wanted to put him in my top 25, and I was a humongous wimp and put him at 31. And that was my one of my big lessons is like, go with your gut. And I still like him as a player. There's just some stuff he does on the court that not a lot of players can do. And especially defensively, there's just very fun upside.
Agreed. Okay, let's go Peyton Watson at 18. Going to be a huge year for him, Christian Brown, and the Nuggets. If those guys don't take some significant leaps, Denver could be in a little bit of trouble. Obviously, right. They have arguably the best player in the world, so that helps. But we'll see. At 19, on draft night, it was Drake LaRavia, who went to Memphis in a trade with the Timberwolves. Who are you thinking?
Hardy? Keon? No, we just took Keon.
So I think that kind of two names for like a big break for me right now are Hardy and Vince Williams.
I feel like the Vince Williams thing is just going to keep getting more and more fun. So probably in on that. Vince was a fun one too. You just watch that guy in college and you're just like, man, this dude just does a lot of stuff. Is it going to work? Is it going to figure it out? And then he goes,
he was one I really struggled with because he was one of those.
Is this an awesome college player?
Darlings.
Yes.
But it was on such low volume. Like it was almost entirely off ball stuff, but every number was good. And it was at, is mid-major school. Everything was off ball, very low volume. A couple of years of it, but there was never anything that pointed to like this dude's for sure going to be that. And if he was doing those numbers at a Power 5 or Duke or NC State, even he probably would have been viewed a little differently. But he was kind of one of those draft Twitter query darlings, whereas and a lot of people are taking victory laps as they should, because he was really good for the Grizzlies this year and one of the biggest beneficiaries of the horrible injury luck they had. But he's looking like he's going to be just a really solid 3-and-D wing.
I'll go Vince
over Hardy. So are you still skeptical on Hardy, or is it just opportunity hasn't totally been there?
I feel like the opportunity hasn't, like, unleash him. Like, you got to let him run now. He just keeps showing me that, and I'm like, gosh, it's there. Like, it's there. And then you hear how much the organization loves him and like they think highly of him, and you're like, oh, then play him more. Like, he's a very unique talent that really could help. Like,
see, I think he's going to be a second team guy, because I don't think you can play him at all with Luka or Kyrie.
You can't.
There's too much overlap there. His defense is rough, but some of the shot creation stuff, playmaking hasn't taken that leap like we wanted it to. But some of the just on ball scoring and occasional flashes of playmaking have been really fun. But at that size, the defense isn't there, and you can't play him alongside Luka and or Kyrie.
Yeah,
I think he's going to be a second team guy.
But
if I was a team who was trading, the quote unquote third or fourth piece to Dallas for them to kind of round out their starters, or find their third star or whatever you want to call it, Hardy would be one of those names I'd be kind of pushing for.
Yeah, I'd be trying to get an extended look potentially before, like, that'd be a trade target for me. Now Dallas is probably like, hey, we like him, we want to keep him, but I would be trying to almost like, if you believe in him, I would try to get like an extended look before he would hit like free agency or something. But I don't know. I go whatever way you think.
Okay, I'm gonna go Vince Williams and then Hardy,
Okay.
just because I think there's a clearer path for Vince to consistently contribute to winning basketball, if that makes sense. I think the upside of Hardy is still significantly higher, just given the on-ball stuff. But I think Williams is pretty plug and play into pretty much any rotation. Okay, moving on to what are we at? Moving on to pick 21. On draft night, it was Christian Brown to the Denver Nuggets. Some of the top names for me right now are Max Christie, Jalen Williams, Nikola Jovic, Jake LaRavia, Usman Jang, Ochai Agbaji, Josh Minot, Jabari Walker, Marjan Beauchamp, Julian Champagny.
Did you just say Jalen Williams, or am I just hallucinating?
Other Jalen Williams. J-Will.
Okay. Hey, okay. I just wanted to make you say that. That's her favorite guy.
We're besties.
Christie's entering the conversation for me. Jovic somehow keeps popping up in my head. I don't know if it's Nick, like from all the mock drafts we did a couple years ago, but like I also think Jovic is starting to be like he should be in the conversation, just because of potential still. And I've liked what I've seen. Who else did you list? Laravia is probably there. If Koloko never got hurt and all that stuff, I hope we doing all right. But I think Koloko is going to be great for Toronto.
Where are we at with Usman?
I think we probably should be taking Usman
here.
Yeah, probably earlier. I think it's a big year for him. He big year. They really could use Usman taking a step. It would just be a fun, like, wild card to have, like an ace up your sleeves or a joker. But I don't know. At some point, they're gonna have a roster where it's gonna be like, who do they get rid of? Like,
yeah,
like,
well, and probably at the
great problem to have.
He's probably at the top of the list.
Yeah, which is tough because he also might be a second team guy,
and he also just hasn't gotten a whole lot of opportunity. I mean, he has yet to play 40 games either year. 38 as a rookie, 31 last year.
It's because he's serving in the G
under 8.9 minutes a game last year. So I know he's getting a ton of run with the blue. But at some point, all of that development has to translate into NBA minutes. And I think this is kind of the year, the make or break year. I think it can happen. Some of his numbers are really encouraging. Corner 3 percentage went from 30 to 44%. Obviously, low volume and all that kind of stuff. But he shot 73 and 82% at the rim both years. I'm good with Usman here at 21.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, who we got?
22 on draft night was Walker Kessler. Who's jumping off for you?
I just want to say his name. Procida?
Gabriel Procida? Yeah.
Miss him.
My sweet prince.
My sweet prince. Injuries are fun.
God, man, his tape was a blast.
It was just really fun.
It was so much
gotta be healthy. Christie or Christian Braun's probably up there on my list.
Brown went at 16.
Christian Braun's not on my list. Sorry. Forgot we did the back-to-back. The back-to-backs throw me for a mix.
I'm still very high on Christie.
I would take Christie here. I probably would have. You could have talked me into Christie a little earlier. I'm very high.
Also, it would be
second team guy.
It'd be pretty neat if he could play or get minutes, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, well, JJ should probably let him play now. So,
all right. Well, I'm still all in on Christie. I had I think 16 that year.
I had him at 25.
Yeah,
and we were probably
the defense
people thought we were nuts.
Really good. I need the shooting to be better. It looks gorgeous, but I think those percentages. Year. Yeah. Well, they extended them. So, all right, Christie at 22. At 23, it was David Roddy on draft night. I have a feeling it will be someone new. I think top two names for me right now are J. Will and Jovic.
Michael Foster? It's fun looking at these names. You're like, whoa.
That was one I never got.
Yeah, I tried to drink that Kool-Aid and then realized it just wasn't my taste. Probably Jovic. Jovic just does some stuff where I'm like, man, it's a lot of stuff here. Like he just had some games during the year where I was like, man, Jovic could be a bad dude. I still buy in the upside.
What do you think he shot on corner 3-pointers?
31.
47.
Good. I like to aim low.
Only 47.
I can't read you because I think sometimes you're going to be like, no, it's lower.
He was over 120. I like Jovic here.
I like Jovic.
I think he has a chance to really earn some valuable minutes, and especially if he's going to be a knockdown shooter like that, defend at a acceptable level. I think that could be fun. Okay,
we're gonna get ugly pretty quick. So
oh, I thought we did that already.
I like these guys still.
At 24, on draft night, it was Marjon Beauchamp to the Milwaukee Bucks. Top names for me right now are J. Will, Jake LaRavia, Agbaji, Minot, Jabari Walker, Champagny, Beauchamp. Talk to me.
I probably could go J. Will. Jabari Walker's creeping in my head, but I feel like that's too early. Even though I feel like he's become a nice piece. I go J-Dub.
J. Will.
J. Will. Sorry. See, now I do it.
Man, I hate
you love him. You love him. He's the junkyard dog. He just takes charges, and you love the way he plays.
I hate. It's a coward's way to play defense, and you'll never convince me otherwise. But he's been good. He's been really good, especially this last year. And I know net rating and all that is what it is, but when it's plus 7.7 when you're on the court, it's pretty good. When the opponent's turnover rate is 16.8%, which ranks in the 96th percentile, it's pretty good. I think he's got really high feel, really smart, really good player, really good passer. The shooting has been solid. I think he makes sense here.
Okay.
Gripes aside. Okay. 25 on draft night, it was Blake Wesley to the Spurs.
Laravia?
That works.
Quickest pick we've made all night?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Love it.
Next.
We're getting into ugly season here. Okay. 26.
I still like Laravia. I just feel like it's getting crowded there.
I thought he showed some really good stuff at Summer League this year.
He looked much better at Summer League.
If he can translate that into NBA minutes and stay healthy, and
it's a big early portion of the season for Jake.
It could be a really good chance for him to kind of carve out that 7th, 8th man in the rotation. All right. At 26 on draft night, it was Wendell Moore, who got rerouted to the Timberwolves. Pass on that one. Agbaji, Minot, Walker.
Carlo Makovich.
Carlo Makovich was on my list.
I mean, he might rock. He might. He might rock. We might look back at this and be like, "Well, we were cooking."
I think Carlo at a minimum, I don't know if he'll be good. But I'm pretty confident that he's going to be fun.
Which is what we're doing this. I'm in. Let's do it.
You want to go? He has yet to play a second of.
We're gambling. We're gambling, man. I'm in.
So you just want to take a swing on a guy that you haven't watched a second of outside of this summer league?
I have watched it. I watched summer league. He looked awesome. He looked awesome. Wait, we took Ivy.
Agbaji.
Sorry, I heard the end of that. I was too pumped about
Mina, Jabari Walker, Julian Champagny, Marjan Beauchamp. None of them doing anything for you?
I'm betting. I'm a gambling man.
All right. I love the passion. I'll reward it. Carlo. Oh, man. Carlo Makovich at 26. All right. At 27 on draft night, it was Nikola Jovic. I kind of like Jabari
We took
Walker
Vince.
Here. Yeah, Vince is gone.
Yeah, I like Jabari here.
All right. He's been solid. If that man can knock down a goddamn jumper this year, it would do wonders. But to his credit, the the shooting efficiency really took a leap. Where as a rookie, he scored 0.915 points per shot attempt, which ranked in the 2nd percentile, and he had a huge leap to 1.08, which ranked in the 15th percentile. So baby steps. But it's all about the kind of defense and rebounding with him. I like him as a deep rotation piece.
Yeah. How many picks we got? It's getting ugly.
We got 3 more. Hang in there. 28 was Patrick Baldwin Jr. to the Warriors on draft night. That's been a bummer. I think this has got to be Agbaji.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know things haven't gone ideal, but he's still playing.
Yeah.
Okay. 29.
I thought he would be so much better.
Yeah.
I just thought it just felt like a guy that I was like, probably, I had him at 14. I just loved his film.
Yeah, 16.
I love the film.
Winner, Yeah. I was a huge fan of him in Kansas. Okay. 29 was Ty Washington to the Rockets, I believe he ended up.
Can I nominate a second team guy?
Sure.
Dalen Terry? What are we doing here? We're ugly. We're in Uglyville.
I'm trying to. I think I would lean Minot or Champagny even.
Oh gosh, you're gonna sell me on Minot? He's gonna play 15 summer leagues. I love the guy. He's very exciting, but is he gonna play? Or are you talking about second team guy?
I think he's as much of a second team guy.
Someone figures out Minot. It's not gonna shock me. Like someone's gonna figure him out.
Yeah,
for somehow and win a playoff game for him.
And he's huge. I thought the kind of off-ball defense looked significantly better in summer league. It's just he's getting zero opportunity, which I guess you can say about Terry too. But
that's why who was the third name you said?
Champagny, who's been fine, but I feel like we know who he is. He's been solid.
Yeah.
Are we not going to have Beauchamp go first round?
He's in the combo. These are a lot of fun names. Beauchamp's probably still there. I just wanted more. Yeah. It's fine. I just wanted more. I thought there was more.
This summer league left a really bad taste in my mouth. I thought he was. It looked like he just didn't improve at all, unfortunately.
It was the solid prospect that I was like, man, if there's another level, and I think I got the times where I was like, what if there isn't? And he's just a solid player.
He's
But I
fine.
think I just wanted him to be like, oh, you got to play him at the end of a game. I go Belichick. I'll take Bochamp here. I
Okay.
still think he'd be going first round because, like, I'm not slandering the guys that we're also talking about, but like, would you rather have Bochamp right now
Over
than
who?
the other guys we're talking about?
I guess. He's at least kind of played more than any of them.
Is it a fit thing?
No.
Is Bochamp with a bunch of shooters like more
Like you want the ball in his hands?
No. Is Bochamp playing alongside a more shooting team? Like he's playing with like guys like Giannis and stuff. But I guess they also have Splash Mountain and Middleton.
No,
And,
I think the setting for him is about as ideal as possible. He just has to be more consistent. So I'm good taking him here at 29.
that was an elite moment there. Just being like, I'll take him.
It's kind of make or break for him because
Yeah.
they put him in position to really shine at Summer League, and he unfortunately didn't. But okay, moving on. Last pick, number 30 on draft night is Peyton Watson. He's already gone.
I need a name. Who are you thinking?
Minot, Champagny, Terry.
I'd probably lean Terry. I just can't give it up.
Is it just
Branham or Wesley?
you...
Not even there. I mean, it's just weird with those. Just weird.
Branham is kind of looking like a big miss.
I will say the AJ Griffin thing has made me bummed. Feel like I still would have been buying. I just want to put that out there. Like I'm if I didn't get that today, I feel like I'd still be like, I'm buying in on the AJ. We're not giving up yet. Like, because this is a second team guy.
Yeah.
I was really excited to see, him with Houston this year. I hope he plays.
Branham's been a big bummer because we've seen some of the playmaking stuff. The interior scoring's been good. He just hasn't been able to shoot from outside, and the defense has been horrendous. That's been a big bummer.
I would say Terry.
Okay, why not?
We did it. Almost 2 hours. I absolutely love it.
To his credit, his defensive numbers have still been good. So why not? Terry. Whew. All right. Marathon episode.
Wasn't expecting that one, but it was a fun time. I actually loved doing this.
Do we need to dive into bus or anything? Or I feel like we
No, I don't want to do that. Just stay optimistic here.
There's always time. Always time.
There's always time.
All right. Rucker, this is a blast. Everyone who tuned in live, you're the best. This is a really fun one. We will be back again next week. Make sure to check out the feed if you haven't. Steven and Maxwell have done a great job of kind of covering a lot of Maxwell's No Stone Unturned guys. Albert and Corey on the feed have been diving into some specific prospects. Their last one was really fun with Drake Powell and Liam McNeely. Liam McNeely, who I also wrote about over at NoCeilingsNBA.com. Very late plug. Go check that out. But this is a blast. As always, you can find all of our stuff over at NoCeilingsNBA.com. No Ceilings across socials, YouTube, all that good stuff. But he is Tyler Rucker. You can follow him at Tyler_Rucker. I am Tyler Metcalf. You can follow me at TMetcalf11. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe, review, leave a rating. Love you all. Till next time. See ya.